have you ever wondered what you can do with your UV resin and looking for something different to do with it rather than just pouring it in and then using it to dome and things like that? I've got lots of UV resin videos, and I'll link one after this that will really help you if you're having any trouble with UV resin. But what I want to show you today is a technique that I absolutely love, and it's one that you can have so much fun with. Now, I've used this technique quite a few times in videos, but this time I'm going to do something a little bit different. So when you're using this technique, you are much better off to use the high viscosity resin rather than the low viscosity resin, because you will get much better final effect with it. Now, what I also would suggest you do is pour in your high viscosity only in about 2 of the molds at a time, and not too deep. You certainly don't want to go with this too deep, this technique, and we need to be able to do something afterwards as well. So halfway up that mold is plenty to start with. Now, I work in an area where there's no natural light, so I know that this isn't going to cure. It's going to give me the time I need to be able to do what I need to do. Now, I've popped that in there, and now I'm going to burst those little bubbles that have come up. And now what I've got here is some washing up liquid and some water. Now, slightly warm water rather than cold water. I feel it makes the bubbles a little bit stronger. Now, all I've done is give that a good mix around and then blow some bubbles in it as well, because that way you get a really nice different sizes of bubbles. And then I'm popping the bubbles over my UV resin like that, and now I'm going to cure it up. The reason you don't want to do too many at once is because if you do, then the bubbles burst and you don't get such a nice effect. So I'll cure this up for 3 minutes. So now those ones are cured, what I can do is go in with my resin and do my next 2. And just build them up like this. Remembering to use your high viscosity resin and not go more than about halfway up the mold. Mix up your bubbles, pull your bubbles off, let them spread out, and then cure that up. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do the rest, and then I'll show you what I've got that's going to really knock these out of the park. So these are now all cured, and as you can see, I've done different size bubbles in different ones because it gives you a different effect, and I like to have a different effect. Now, what I'm going to do is with this one I'm going to do one method, and with this one I'm going to do another method so I can show you the difference. I'm going to be using these new UV colors by J Addiction. You get 15 colors in here, and each one of them is 20 grams, so they're not massive, so you're going to be able to use them and get through them, but also you're going to have a large variety of colors. They do all the normal colors you would expect: lake green, red, blues, oranges, lavender, black, pink, dark brown, which I always think looks like gold, purple, a bright yellow, a sky blue, a green, just so a normal green, a grey, which will be interesting, a brown, so not a dark brown, and a white. So there's a real good selection of colours to choose from. If I've got a discount code for these, I'll link it in the description, of course, as I always do. I used to hate using UV resin until I discovered J Addiction's UV resin. Then I loved it, and it transformed the way I worked with UV resin. And from there, I discovered their other resins, which I also love. Anyway, enough of my going on. So what I'm going to do is just some simple techniques on here, and that's by using these colors like this. Oh, look at that blue. That blue, it's beautiful. And the great thing about having UV resin that's pre-colored is, even though it looks a very solid color, you are still going to get a little bit of translucency if you're going to put it on there nice and thin. But also, even though it's really heavily pigmented, you are going to get a great cure, which is what we can sometimes miss if we are colouring our own UV resin. So that's just one where I've used more than one colour at once. Can't wait to see what this grey looks like, so I'm going to definitely have a go with this grey. I would say the grey is quite silvery in colour, really. Let's put some red in that as well to brighten it up. See how that comes out. Now, I won't know what colours these are after I've used them. As you know, I'm colourblind. So once I've used them, unless I write on here what they are, then I have no idea really what colours I'm using. So what I'm going to do is put the bottles in front of the one that I've just done. Like that. So then I'll know what they are. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish off these. And then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with the bottom ones. Which, using the coloured UV resin, just gives it an amazing finish. Now those ones are ready, and all I've got to do is what I want to do on these ones. Look how beautiful those colours are. So what I'm going to do under these ones is I'm going to brush on a little bit of chameleon powders. And these really do work so well with the coloured UV resins. You don't need to put a lot on because it will stick to this UV resin really well. So that's the mint green I've used there. On this one, I'm going to use 3 different colours. I'm going to use a purple here. And now I'm going to use a yellow chameleon powder. And I'm going to go around and finish off painting some chameleon powders on them. I'll do Galaxy because I like Galaxy and I haven't got a light green. So we'll pop the light green over this. And I'm going to try and match up the colours as best as I can over the top of these. Again, whenever you're using UV resin and you're squeezing it right out of the bottle, try and do it all in one squeeze. That way you're not adding lots of different bubbles into it. If you stop and start, you tend to get more bubbles. And I'm going to leave this about 2 or 3 minutes after I've finished doing all the pours to enable me to burn off any bubbles that come to the top. I'm sure you can see there are quite a few bubbles that have come up, and that is because we've got a very uneven surface underneath this. So that is why I like to leave them for that little bit of time for those bubbles to come up, and then I can just go ahead and burst those bubbles. So now that's about curing them up, and what I'm going to do is cure them up for 3 minutes, and then I can show you how wonderful they come out. Well, these are all cured now, and we can take off our gloves and the rest of our PPE. Now, when you take these out, don't be surprised if there's water underneath them at the bottom of the mould. And the reason is those bubbles and that water has to go somewhere. So it takes itself and gets underneath the mold, but it isn't UV resin that is uncured. So let's do these ones first. These ones aren't going to show up the bubbles quite as much, and if you've done a too shallow mold, then they might not show up at all. But what you will get is you will get a texture, great texture, by doing it like this. So these are the ones without the mica powder, and yes, there is a little bit of water under there. So let's dry these all off. Now, don't forget, if you ever get that problem where your resin is sticky once it's cured, and I'm talking UV resin here, then the video that's coming up at the end here will tell you how you can fix that and show you how you can fix that really, really easily and very, very quickly. So there we go. We have got some great patterns coming out of those now, and they're going to catch the light as people are wearing them and give you that great final finish. And they look wonderful when they're put on pendants. So look how good they look now they're on chains. And the light picks that up and refracts. What's a reflex? Refracts off those really, really well. But that's those. Now let's look at the ones where the mica powders and the colours have gone in. Look at that, looks like a planet. That is awesome. And again, that one has had the 2 different colours that had the grey and the red put around it. So you're getting those 2 different tones. And again, they look amazing on a cord with a push bail on there. Look at that. They're so awesome. So let's have a look at the rest of these. See, there's a little bit of moisture in the bottom there. And again, that is just the water. I'm loving that 3 coloured one. Look at that. And the texture in that is absolutely beautiful. And it looks nice with a really delicate chain and a delicate push bail on there. It is a great way of being able to get some good texture. If you want the texture like this, then put a very shallow layer in, and what that'll do is that will go right down to the bottom of the mold, and it will give you that effect. If you want more of a bubble effect in there, like this one, or let's say this one, or this one, then pour your UV resin in to start with a little bit deeper, and then it won't go right the way down to the bottom. So you're getting 2 different methods in there, and they really do come out so pretty. Oh, look, I left one behind. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, look at that. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. It's a really easy way to get some great effects using UV resin and some very pretty pendants that are going to be out there, or earrings. You can make these into earrings as well. This is at great value, these 15 colors, and it's worth getting them just to try them out and have some fun with them. There's lots more that you can do with them, and I'm probably going to do another video on some different techniques that you can use with them coming up soon. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on that video. Be sure to check the video that I've got coming up next if you want to learn more about how to deal with any problems regarding your UV resin. That's coming up right now. Boot that like button, hit that subscribe button, but most of all, enjoy your resin. Take care. Bye.